Well, Barry, thank you so much for joining us today for a Meet the Family interview. As you
Sure.
may know, these recordings go on to our social media, our
Mhm.
website, so that folks that are considering the right at home franchise opportunity can see a little bit inside the life of what it's like as a franchisee with right at home.
Right?
So, to get us kick started today, let's start with an easy one, introductions, if you don't
Sure.
mind sharing your name, how many territories, and where you're at, and how long you've been a franchisee.
Sure. So my name is Barry Paxton. My wife and I, Sandy Paxton, own three right-at-home franchises, all in Central Michigan. The territories basically are the Lansing area, Shiawassee County, the Brighton, Livingston County, as well as Metro Detroit in our Novi office. We bought the first two franchises in 2012, and we purchased the third in 2013.
Awesome. So, just a little over a decade with us.
Correct.
Awesome.
Yes.
And tell me a little bit about your background prior to being with Right at Home.
Sure. Prior to Right at Home, I had a corporate career for about 20 years. I was in the pharmaceutical industry and did about seven relocations throughout that time with my family and back and forth between Michigan. And we resettled back in Michigan. And I looked at the opportunity with Right at Home back in early 2012.
Awesome. And why did you choose Right at Home? Because I know there's a lot of other franchises out there, home care or non. So tell me a little bit about why you chose Right at Home.
Sure. Well, number of reasons. First of all, the company's fantastic in general. Did a pretty comprehensive vetting process, and one of the things that I really enjoyed most about my corporate career was leading and developing teams and running businesses. And so I looked at all my healthcare experience, and I came back to what is a specific industry that I can help a lot of people. Both my grandmothers, unfortunately, have now passed away, but they had Alzheimer's and dementia. And so I saw the experiences with my mom and my parents taking care of my grandparents, and that gave me a real sense of the industry and what we can do to help people. As I was exploring the different businesses, what I had done is look very broadly across the home care industry, and there were a number of things that kept pulling me back to Right at Home. First and foremost, I was introduced to the brand by friends of the family that I had known. In addition to that, as I reached out and I started to get to know a number of the other owners, I was really impressed with their background, their skill set, the friendships and the relationships that they had, and really supporting and working with each other. Then, as I kind of started vetting the process, looking at other companies, I went on a number of site visits. And as I came back to Right at Home, once meeting the corporate staff and also the support, that was really what led me to the direction of Right at Home. And I truly believe to this day, not only can we help a lot of people, but Right at Home has been fantastic from a corporate support, making sure that you have the infrastructure to start and successfully run and grow your business.
Well, that is awesome. And it's like you knew what question I was going to ask next. Of the support that Right at Home provides, do you feel like there is a certain aspect of the support that is the most valuable or beneficial from your time here with Right at Home?
Yeah, I think in general, the initial onboarding experience, now been over a decade ago, as you'd mentioned, was fantastic. I think the Right Start program and how that's evolved over time was very good. The team members in the different positions along the way, from the corporate leadership all the way down to the day-to-day sales training team, obviously, or the kind of onboarding team, really lends a lot of support. The things that I like as we've grown and evolved with the company over time is number one, being involved in a performance group and having the leadership of that team and working with other owners that have similar aspirations and ambitions for growing the business and learning about the company. So I think the performance group is another very important aspect. And then in addition to that, corporate support, as we all have our individual corporate contacts. Jaime, I can say without hesitation, is probably one of the best contacts we've had. If there's however small or large of an issue or a concern, he follows up on it. If not, he'll get the leadership team involved, and everyone is very receptive to not only feedback, but also helping to ensure we're successful.
Amazing. And just to let our audience know, Jaime is one of our business performance coaches.
Correct.
Um, and then you also mentioned how things have evolved with
Mhm.
time as you've kind of matured in the system.
Yeah.
How has your typical day as an owner changed from day one to what it's like now?
Dramatically, I think would be the first word that comes to mind. As you start a new business, whether it's an existing franchise, and we actually started with 3 brand new territories that had never been developed. And so I think there's some differences there. But coming into a territory, and quite frankly, the 3 territories that were brand new, there's a lot of activity in the weeds. And what I mean by that is you absolutely, without a doubt, work in the business every day, right? From going and covering shifts personally, to my wife covering shifts, to scheduling, recruiting, hiring, onboarding, all aspects of the business. You're fully hands on as you're coming up to speed and learning the business. However, the evolution over time is as you grow. Unfortunately, one of the things that I miss about the business being smaller was that I knew all the caregivers, I knew all the clients. And now, when you have 100 plus caregivers on 100 plus clients, unfortunately, the business has to evolve. And so that's been both challenging and rewarding for me, because now you have to consistently build and develop and lead a team so you can continue to be successful and grow the business. The other component of that is, and it's going from being in the weeds to being more on the strategic side. And so as you continue to grow the business, now we have an operations team that we have to train and develop and rely on, so we can work, instead of in the business, on the business. And this is where we've really incorporated things that a lot of other owners and corporate is incorporated traction, the entrepreneurial operating system. And so it really helps us to become more of the visionary of the company and what we want to grow and accomplish down the road, as opposed to working on filling a schedule and a shift and covering this or covering that. So it's really been a nice evolution over time. And I honestly will say that I don't miss being in the weeds anymore. I really love working more on the strategy and the growth of the business.
I'm sure you appreciate that time, understanding all the ins and outs. And of course, you develop good
Absolutely.
team members by knowing
Absolutely.
exactly what that role and those duties and responsibilities are.
Correct.
Um, so you shared so much information. We're almost through.
Great.
So 2 last questions for you, Barry. What is one piece of advice you would give to an individual who is considering the right at home business?
I think probably the most important one is to leverage your resources and the success that others have had, and utilize right at home corporate, because what we're doing is, and what we find is, we're obviously investing a lot of our own personal resources. And the reason why we're doing that is because we're investing in a brand, and right at home is a terrific brand. So I think what is one of the most important things you can do is work very closely with either your onboarding coach, with your performance coach, with right at home corporate. We don't, and you don't have to have all the answers, but collectively, as a large organization like Right at Home, we can get the answers, and people are more than willing to help and get those solutions and answers to you.
Amazing. And last but not least, and hopefully I'm not putting you too much on the spot, tell me about a time where you really feel that you made an impact on someone's life through your right at home business.
Absolutely. I think, to me personally, this is a relationship business. And having one of the things I didn't mention early on is that what I liked about Right at Home also was the individual territories. And being a personal business, it was really important for me to be in the areas that I either grew up or that I lived or that I had been in those communities. And so we own part of the territory where I actually grew up. We own East Lansing, where I went to Michigan State, and then we own the South Lyon, Brighton, Novi area, which is where we live. And so it's a very community business, community related. One of the things that I enjoy most, but sometimes can be frustrating, is, and for my team, I really appreciate the opportunity when friends and family and colleagues and people we knew through different chambers and networking events have the confidence and trust in us, that they specifically will request our company to come and provide the services. And there's just been so many examples of dear friends that we've been able to go in and help their loved ones to provide the assistance. Now, it also puts extra pressure on my team, because they know, oh, that's Barry and Sandy's friend, or that's their neighbor, or that's their, his board chamber member. So it does put a lot of pressure on, but we try to maintain those high standards regardless of what client we're providing the assistance for. But it's a little extra special meaning when it's someone that we know well. And, I was at a graduation party this past weekend, and one of the family members that are former neighbors of ours, and we caught up, and she was saying what a wonderful company we have. And so it just makes you feel great that you can help others in very challenging times as well.
That fulfillment aspect, I cannot
Absolutely.
share enough how important it is when you're considering what you're going to be doing every single day for, a decade or even longer.
More.
Yeah. So, Barry, thank you so much for your time today. And I hope this reaches someone and they really understand more about Right at Home based on what you had to share.
Sure.
Enjoy the rest of your Tuesday, and we'll
All
talk
right.
again soon.
Terrific. Thank you. You guys have a great day.
You too.
Bye
Bye
bye.
bye.